Almost set to go here in Plymouth. Under 2 minutes to go until the start of the first race. Remember, 3 races today, then we'll have 3 more tomorrow, which includes the big final. So as we look out there, the conditions, Stevie, could not be much better as we are under 2 minutes until the start of this first race, which will tell us a lot.
I think we're going to learn an awful lot about the course. The crews are certainly going to learn a lot about the course, and there's been a few changes out there. We can see the New Zealand boat here, and Pete Burling and Blair Toot. Well, they've called in Joe Allais. We can see Joe at the back of the boat there. Olympic gold medalist from 2012, silver medalist in 2016, and well, there's no ignoring the fact she's one of the best female sailors on the planet, one of the best sailors on the planet, and she's come in as strategist, and I think it's just going to offer that bit of calmness, that bit of experience. We just haven't seen the results from New Zealand yet. Can Joe be the difference that we're looking for?
One minute to go now with New Zealand sitting on a 6th place in Bermuda and a 4th place in Chicago. This would be a nice time for them to turn things around here in Plymouth.
Tight tack in there underneath the French, and these racing maneuvers are already underway here. The positioning in this final minute is absolutely crucial, and we can see as we look in on New Zealand, they found themselves some space. They'll be looking for clear wind, trying to find the shortest distance to Mark 1. Here we go, coming in on the helicopter above the fleet. There's the start line, middle of screen, Australia and USA towards the right-hand downwind end of the start line. They think that's the shortest course, but Canada away above the fleet. They found some space as the crews look to come in, lined up. Boats are foiling with 15 seconds to go. How's the timing? We're looking to see the crews come in towards the start line now. Great Britain, USA, it's going to be tight at the bottom of the line. It's all about being at speed. Australia and Slingsby are up to speed with 1 second to go. And Jimmy Spittle, he's high and fast across the start. What a start by Spittle. And look at Canada coming in at full pace. They have the fastest angle to Mark 1. And let's see who can lead.
This is the umpires, OCS penalty, Australia over the line early, no delayed starters.
So bad news for the Australians, but at mark number 1, it is Canada that came on the underneath with high speeds. The Americans, their best start all weekend long.
Great action there. Boat speed, boat speed, boat speed. The Canadians got the boat high and fast, and what a fantastic job. Back of the pack, it's Great Britain and New Zealand. They're going to have to find something special from here, as Canada will already be thinking about the next move to set themselves for gate 2.
And look at those speeds in excess of 60 kilometers an hour. The Canadians just shooting out there. It is France that turns away first. The Americans now getting some company on the right-hand side from Denmark.
Yellow line on the screen there, Todd. That's the ley line. That suggests that Canada have now put themselves in a position to sail straight down to gate 2. Oh, something's gone wrong, though. They're sailing right across those ladder lines. Big lull in the wind, not much wind. They can't sail where they want to. All the teams trying to turn less to keep themselves fast.
Today we've got a slightly longer course than normal. This means there's plenty of room for the faster teams to stretch their legs. It means a good start today is really important because the boats in the lead are going to be fast and getting a good amount of separation.
When you talk about fast, you got to talk about Canada right off the line. They came flying out of nowhere. Jimmy Spittle looked like he had the whole shot, and then comes Phil Robertson and the Canadians. They've looked so good so far this year. They've had a 3rd in Bermuda, a 2nd place in Chicago, looking for more here in Plymouth. So it's the Canadians out in front, Denmark now sitting in 2nd, and then a host of boats coming through, with France mixing up with the Americans in 3rd and 4th.
Americans have missed their jibe again, fallen off the foils. Disaster for America. It's going to be Canada in the lead. Denmark from absolutely nowhere, and then Contant de la Pierre. Has he got room to get around the outside? It's tight. What a turnaround at the bottom of the leg, but another mistake for the US crew. This is disastrous.
They were sitting in 2nd place. They now find themselves in 7th place and dead in the water, both holes in the water. Meanwhile, Great Britain's catapulted from 6th place all the way up into 5th, moving up now into 4th.
There we go, a boat on the course. Unfortunately, that was the voice of Ben Ainsley asking for the TV boat to move out of the way. He's now found some space, though. He's up to speed, but at the moment it's Canada. The wind has shifted a long way to the left-hand side of our screen. Canada showing in 2nd, but I think they're going to be in good shape as they start to head straight up the course with this wind shift. But it's Ainsley. He seems to be finding something a little special early on in the race.
Phil Robertson and the Canadians looking very good. France picking up a penalty there, so they'll have to drop back on position. But the Americans, almost from first to worst, they had the lead at mark number 1 or close there into Canada, and now they find themselves in dead last.
Simple mistakes make a huge difference, Todd, and that was a mistake. Crew error, boat fell off the foils, disaster.
Boats to watch here are the Kiwis, Spanish and Canada, who are all averaging around 50 kilometers an hour upwind on this course now.
So the Kiwis in a good position. They found the pressure on that side of the course. Canada and Spain, with Switzerland moving in. France, Great Britain has dropped back to 6th, then Denmark, Australia, and the Americans.
It's really gusty wind out there, Todd. We can see top of the screen the New Zealand crew. They're in more wind. If they're in more wind, there should be good news for them.
No, sir. Good breeze on the stick.
Nice tack there now. New Zealand have the right of way, but we can see Canada, the wind has shifted in their favour, so they were sailing almost straight up the ladder lines. Great angle for them. Potentially New Zealand are sailing faster, but Canada are sailing a shorter distance. Let's watch now though. This cross will be crucial. New Zealand have the right of way. Clear cross though. Canada hold the lead, and it's going to be tight as they approach gate 3.
So Switzerland also getting into the mix now. They sit in second place on distance as they go through the ladder lines. Canada, Switzerland, and New Zealand right now, your top 3. This is race number 1, and this is just leg 3.
Here we've got the live speeds of our 3 top boats at the moment. You can see Canada and New Zealand are neck and neck for speed-wise, both around 54 kilometers an hour.
Looks pretty good on board the Canadian boat at the moment. They've lined themselves up well, done a pretty nice job of sailing the wind shifts. I wouldn't have said they're the fastest boat, but they've sailed the shortest distance up this course. They're going to hold on to the lead. Going to be a left turn for them. Where are New Zealand? Here they come. Will New Zealand choose to turn one more time? Can they fit inside the French? French have the right of way. It's going to be tight as they come in here.
The near gate, one of the 2 rounding gates, renamed and branded near in recognition of SailGP's new partner. As the Canadians take that lead, New Zealand now in second with France in third.
Oh, it was really tight at the top there, Todd. Great move by Quentin de la Pierre, though, taking this French boat up to second. Great Britain and Ben Ainsley looks like he's going to be squeezed out by the Swiss team. It's tight in the pack, no room to breathe. Any little mistake's going to have a huge consequence at this stage of the race.
No host honors given to Ben Ainsley and Great Britain as the Swiss squeeze in there. So Great Britain stays in 5th. Switzerland holds on to 4th. New Zealand has dropped to 3rd, but it is still Canada. And look at the distance they're putting over France. Look at this, over 200 meters in the lead. And Stevie, you got to go back to that start. Somehow Phil Robertson found the speed, and just like a bullet out of a gun with Chris Draper.
Nice and chill from here, guys. Really good shape.
Wing trimmer from Chris Draper on board the Canadian boat there. Yeah, nice and chilled from here. Well, they are in really good shape, that's right. And you're quite right, Todd. Phil Robertson on race day at the starts just seems to come out of the blocks with so much aggression, so fast. And here we go. Good manoeuvres as well on board the Canadian boat. It's going to be tight here, though. Look, Canada coming in. Now, they're on port tack. The right of way is with the New Zealand boat, who are to the right of our screen. It will be close at the bottom.
And this is why Canada are in the lead. They're 51.5 kilometers an hour faster on that previous leg, and only 2 maneuvers.
And Canada's done enough to get past New Zealand without having an incident.
It's really, really tight here, Todd. It's going to be interesting to see what they want at the bottom. Canada set up for one more turn. They're looking for a right turn. Now, New Zealand has the right of way in this situation. New Zealand can turn inside, but it would be a lot of manoeuvres. I don't know that Pete Burling's going to want to do that. Phil Robertson judges it well, squeezes around the outside, but New Zealand are right on their tail.
So a match race at the top through gate number 4 on to leg number 5. Canada and New Zealand out there. France is having a great showing here in race number 1. Remember, this is the first race of 3 today, but it's all about getting the points.
Oh, Todd, sorry to interrupt, but New Zealand, that's short. What a move by Peter Burling there. He's making it too complicated. They did not need to do that tack. Penalty, right of way with France.
This is the umpires. Penalty New Zealand, relative France. Penalty New Zealand, relative France.
Oh, you gotta wonder what they were thinking on board that Kiwi boat, because they had everything looking so good.
They just rushed it, Todd. That was too many manoeuvres in too short a space of time there. We see on board in the bottom right-hand corner there, New Zealand, he tried to do a turn at the bottom mark, straight into another turn out of the upwind leg, and just got the boat slow, gave the opportunity to de la Pierre, and he's going to have to drop back behind the French to clear that penalty. He's big mistake by Burling there. Too rushed.
So he's going to go from 1st to 3rd as he will drop behind Canada and France, who holds down third place right now. Pete Burling yet to burn that penalty. So on paper, it is Canada in the lead, just barely ahead of France. And Stevie, coming into this first race, if I'd have told you Canada and France would be out in front, battling away and pulling away from everyone else, would you be surprised?
Certainly not be surprised with the performance of the Canadians. And French, to be fair, they've looked really good, just not had the consistency. Right now, Burling must drop behind the French.
And here's the numbers. Look at France, 100% fly time. That's not something we often see from the French. They seem to be pulling it together, closing the gap with the Canadians as well, who are still dominating speed-wise.
This is leg 5 of 7 in race number 1. 2 more races still to go. Great speed, perfect conditions here in the beautiful Plymouth Sound.
Really tight. This is a real test of speed here. The French boat looks fast. De La Pierre, he can set up to tack when he wants to, and Canada must keep clear. It's going to be one more manoeuvre before this top gate, and it's a drag race.
Canada the closest to us. France on the outside. This is going to be key, Stevie, on this next leg that they don't make any mistakes.
There's no margin for error now, Todd. Foiling turn there from the Canadian boat. Nice job. The crew runs across the boat. French, slower to tack. They're right yellow ley line. No more manoeuvres required for the French, but I think the Canadians can get there cleanly as well, and it's going to then set the Canadians up very well. Just 2 more legs to go after this turning mark, Todd, and it's going to only be a couple of minutes. I think it might be too late for the French, but only one mistake away.
All about gaining as many points as possible in these first 3 races, and then tomorrow it's only the top 3 boats that'll make it into the final. So as they come into gate number 5, it is Canada in the lead, France in second, New Zealand in third, Switzerland moving up to 4th, and Great Britain, the host nation, sits in 5th.
Split tack at the top. I'm surprised the French have done that. That's an aggressive move at this point in the race. Trying to split away, trying to find more wind, but is that the right call? Opens the door and it's tight behind. Great Britain, Switzerland, the battle for 4th and 5th is really tight. Ainsley on a charge, and he's found a way past the Swiss.
So Ainsley will go to the other side of the course, and Switzerland looks like they're going to follow them as well. So Great Britain picks up a position ahead of the Swiss and Sebastian Schneider. So it's 4 and 5 now for Great Britain and Switzerland. So leg number 6, so it is down here, and then the long reach to the finish line. They'll go through that last gate, Stevie, take a left, and then it's the shot straight over to the hoe.
Should be pretty easy here for the Canadians. They just need to get this next turn correct. One more manoeuvre. We're going to look for Chris Draper and Isabelle Bertard at the back there to set up. There they go. They're running across the boat. This is the cue for their last manoeuvre. Can they execute it well? Top of screen, France, 70 kilometres an hour nearly. France has the right of way. This could be a great move by De La Pierre. Izzy ahead. It's going to be tight when the 2 boats come together.
It's been an impressive performance by Canada here, but you have to give it to the French and the Kiwis, who didn't have the best start, made it to mark 1, 4th and 7th respectively, and have moved up into the top 3.
Here we go, big moment coming here. Let's watch this. France has the right of way. Does Phil Robertson think he can get ahead? No, he doesn't. That's the voice of Phil Robertson coming up to dip behind. He must keep clear. Now, are they lined up for the next gate? France sets up for a turn. It's going to be really tight at the bottom. Has Robertson judged this correctly?
So the Canadians have dropped back to 2nd momentarily, but do they make up for it? Here we go.
He's got to squeeze down to the gate.
Oh, it's going to be close.
Expect 2 turns here from the Canadians. France must keep clear. France has to give him room. There goes De La Pierre. Late reactions. This opens the door for Burling. New Zealand will have an opportunity here. Look at the speed. Going nearly 3 times the speed on board New Zealand. It's going to be a sprint across to the finish.
How quick can they get back up on the foils? Canada looks like they're there. Their speed now approaching 50 kilometers an hour, but the Kiwis are already at 60.
What a moment. My favourite now, surely Canada. They should be able to sail fast from here, but De La Pierre, he had to see that coming. He opened the door for New Zealand, and Burling, well, he's made a mistake earlier in the race, but he makes up for it here, and it's now a sprint to the fan. Look at the fans on the shore there.
1 boat length separates them in race number 1, and as they come to the line, it will be the Canadians that take the win here in Plymouth as New Zealand comes from 3rd to grab 2nd.
Oh, what a finish there. What a finish. That was so tight. And it's Ben Ainsley back up to fourth. De La Pierre holds on to third. Ainsley from nowhere into fourth. What a finish. One mistake at the end, Todd, and it's all opens up.
It all came down to that last turn, and France had to give way as Switzerland will come into 5th place. Good result for them to start things off. Australia with a really close to a disastrous start for them. Near the back of the pack, they've salvaged something as they get 6th, and Spain will come in to 7th place, which leaves Denmark and the USA still out on the water. For Jimmy Spithill, this is going to be a head scratcher because they had such a great start, the best we've seen from them all weekend long, and they will take dead last in 9th.
Pretty tight action there, Todd, and we can see in these gusty, changeable winds, it's a really open race course and there's a lot happening.
Over 70 kilometers an hour as the Americans come through to wrap up race number 1. It is official now with Canada, New Zealand, and France going 1, 2, and 3 to open things up here at the Great Britain Sail Grand Prix in Plymouth in Britain's Ocean City. The 3rd event, and the debrief begins for the Americans. So final preparations being made now as we get set for race number 2, the 2nd race of 3 on the day, under 2 minutes to go. And Stevie, there's not a whole lot of time to decompress or to evaluate what you did right or wrong, because you're going to get right back at it. But for the Canadians, how do you match what you did in race number 1?
I think stick to the routine. A lot of these crews, any high-class team really, it's about routine, it's about consistency of performance. They'll know their timing. 1 minute 38 seconds to go. We think they're in a kind of casual cruise eating their sandwiches. They're not. They're very much into their timing for the pre-start. Now we can see in the middle left of our screen, Canada, they're on their run. I'm sure they'll know our timing worked well last time, our strategy worked well last time, we executed it. Let's just go out and do that again. We've not got to do anything special, got to do the same again. Unfortunately, everyone else has learned what to do as well.
All the data is shared here at SailGP, and with a minute 11 to go until the start of race number 2, how quickly can you learn? And for the Americans and Jimmy Spithill, they're certainly going to want to avoid that area that Lisa Darmanin talked about where there is no wind. 1 minute to the start of race number 2. Reminder, the last race was won by Canada. New Zealand finished in 2nd. France finished in 3rd.
Here we go, lining up 50 seconds to go. Spanish out the back. We've got some news from the first race. There was a collision off the screen between Great Britain and Spain will be awarded 4 penalty points at the end of this race. So that's a real setback to the Spanish. Can't have any collisions out there. If you cause it, you're going to get a problem and get in trouble with it. Now, 30 seconds to go. Ainsley, top right-hand side of screen on the British boat, spins in late. New Zealand, bottom of our screen. They're in that same position as the Canadians were last time, but they're all a lot closer to the line here. They're very, very close to the line. Is there going to be room in here? Jimmy Spithill, brilliant start in race 1. Good control. And Phil Robertson, big change of plan. Dives down low, late at the bottom end of the line. It's all about timing now. When the line turns white, the race begins. Watching the screen closely. Here comes Burling on New Zealand. How's your timing? White line means go, and it's good to go. Fast angle here. New Zealand should be fast in from here. Watch the speeds at the top of the mast. Once again, Canada and Phil Robertson poking out down the line, but it's now a sprint to Mark 1.
Not only with a new crew member in Joe Allais, but a new sponsor is Alvaria. Welcome to SailGP, and it is Pete Burling and the Kiwis off to a great start here in race number 2. Canada's there as well, and the Americans once again in good position at mark number 1. Can they make it pay off this time?
Brilliant work by Phil Robertson again. Last minute change of plan, ended up at completely the other end of the start line, but back of the fleet again. Ben Ainsley struggling with his starting today. They need a rethink as they set up for the first manoeuvre on the boundary.
France, Australia, Switzerland, and Spain, the first to turn away. Canada has the lead. New Zealand in 2nd. The Americans go wide.
Oh, Todd, that's a penalty on both those boats for the boundary. USA, another unforced error. They need to drop back 20 meters relative to the other boats. That's going to be so costly for America. Let's see if it can be salvaged by Burling. Look at Australia, top of speed. They found a gust of wind, speed on the top of the mast, 70 kilometers an hour. From 7th up to 3rd, potentially, even 2nd for Australia. Slingsby, wow, look at the boat speed on the Australian. That's the voice of Phil Robertson. He wants a left turn. Perfectly set for the left turn, though, is Slingsby. It's going to be tight as they come in here. How have the Australians done that?
Edging off. On his line, early tack up here, okay?
Listening to Phil Robertson here talking about his plan. Has to cede way to the Australians. Burling splits the course, and we expect an early tack from the Canadians and Phil Robertson. Who's made the right choice, Burling or Slingsby?
Ooh, once again, the Americans get very high out of the water, as do the Swiss. And look at the Swiss heeling that over, almost putting it on its side.
It's busy at the bottom of the course, and when you rush these manoeuvres, Todd, we can see a lot of the boats, Spain and Switzerland, both fell off the foils. If you fall off the foils, you're slow. Not off the foils, New Zealand, look at the speed. 52 kilometres an hour, heading upwind. It's going to be looking good for them.
So it's Australia in the lead, Canada in second, New Zealand in third, then it's France in fourth, Denmark. The USA has moved up to sixth place. Tough going there on board New Zealand as Pete Burling spins it around, then they make the changeover. So Australia out in front, Canada just off to their left, and here comes the Kiwis in fourth place with France in the mix again.
And here we've got the light speeds in kilometres an hour, miles per hour. And for the sailors, we've got knots as well. So here you can see Australia dominating once again speed-wise, 57 kilometres an hour, Canadians 56.
If we look at your screen here, you can see the top of the screen, the water, the screen looks darker. Well, that's a gust of wind. The Australians have found that gust of wind. If you've got more wind, you're just able to sail the boat faster, and it's about putting that together. Last race, it was all about staying away from Drake's Island. Slingsby went straight to it that time. Great gain.
And Stevie, you talked about the collision that we saw, did not see off camera, excuse me, Spain and Great Britain getting together, the 4 points for the damage. Now, that will not affect today, but it will be in the overall, so that's something to keep an eye on as it gets closer going away.
That points tally will be added to them as the series progresses, yes, so big error, big costly mistake for them. But Tom Slingsby and his Australian crew, well, he's found an awesome little route up this leg, keeping the boat fast, and there, Delapierre, he has the right of way. Canada and Phil Robertson, they look like they're behind anyway, but he's going to have to stay behind. The French are on fire so far.
Quentin Delapierre, the skipper of the French squad. Remember, they finished in third place in the last race. You're trying to get as many top places so that you can be in the big final. That's coming up tomorrow, the last race of the day. Only the top 3 boats will make it in there, and there you can do some real damage to move your way up the overall standings, which are right now being dominated by Australia, who've won the first 2 events.
Slingsby there, he's talking about a huge righty, saying the wind has turned to the right, so that means it's turning him away from the mark. But New Zealand, top of screen, that's good news for them. New Zealand almost sailing directly up the ladder lines. Big gain coming for Burling.
So there's the turn for the Australians. They maintain first place. New Zealand now moves into second, France in third. Canada's dropped back to fourth, and here comes the Americans. Jimmy Spithill with a nice recovery now, moving up to fifth.
Here we go. Tight at the top. Australia, they were brilliant at the bottom of the leg. Peter Burling, brilliant at the top of the leg. It's going to be tight here. The French, Jimmy Spithill on the inside. He has the right of way, but he's very, very slow. Can he sneak round? I think he's got himself in the race. But look, it's tight between Canada and France.
Australia, New Zealand, France, and Canada, your top 4 as they make their way through gate 3.
Todd, look at the left-hand side of the screen there. 9th place GBR. That's not what the fans on Plymouth Hoe are going to want to see. Ainsley needs to find something, and he needs to find something quick. We're halfway through race 2 here. There's not a lot of opportunity left.
Well, you can't win the regatta on day number 1, but we've seen it before, Steve. You can certainly throw away your chances of getting to the big final on day number 1. And it seems like in the past you've been able to have one bad race, maybe a 7th, 8th, or a 9th, but then you have to come back with some top 3 finishes, all the others.
Yeah, I mean, the Australians have shown us that.
The Australians dominating still with the fastest boat speed, but the Kiwis are closing that gap by doing less manoeuvres. That's crucial out on the water because it makes you sail less distance.
Oh, there we go, crowds on the shore. They're great to see. They won't like seeing Ben Ainsley at the back of the fleet and the British crew. Maybe we need a big cheer from the crowds on the Hoe to help him down this next leg. But yeah, Burling, well, he overcomplicated race 1. If he's minimising manoeuvres, that tells me he's learnt his lesson, keeping it a bit simpler.
And this may be one of the greatest venues to watch this kind of racing because the Plymouth Sound is spectacular and they are stretched all the way around. So into gate number 4, it is still the 2-time defending champions, Tom Slingsby in Australia out in front. The Kiwis sitting in second place with their new team member and new sponsor. And now we've got a tight crossing as France comes into view and looks like they're going to have to force the Canadians to dip behind.
They haven't. Jimmy Spittle, here we go. The Americans up to speed. They're back in the race. And it just shows how changeable it was. Last race, Lisa was telling us everyone wanted to turn right, sail away from Drake's Island. This race, they're all... Oh, no! Look at it! Too high, lost control of the boat. What a moment. Jimmy Spittle swings round inside. This is going to be disastrous. Boat's full of water. They need to drain the water to build the speed to be able to foil again. This is going to be hugely costly for the Canadians. Top of screen, no mistakes from Australia and New Zealand, and they're in a match race to the finish.
And you were just saying how things can turn on a dime here. So the team that won the first race puts the nose in and fills it up with water, and look at them. They are dropping back and they are now in dead last. Let's look at this again. What happened, Stevie?
Here we go, we're on board. We can see here we're crossing the boat for the roundup. It's the exchange between Phil Robertson and Billy Gooderham of the flight control. They get too high. These foils are designed to be in the water, not out the water. Flew out of the air, and we see Jimmy Spittle, not one to miss an opportunity. Drives past.
So the Americans now up to 4th. It's Australia, New Zealand running away with it, with France still in the distance in 3rd place.
Well, they're doing a great job. Look on the screen now. I think Ben Ainslie and Great Britain, they're up to 5th. Maybe the crowd on the Hoe have cheered them through. Who knows? But yes, brilliant work by these first 2 boats. They're gone down the road here. It's going to be a match race to the finish for this race. But it's the French in 3rd place again. Contant de la Pierre seems to have found out the formula for the Sound right now. Consistency's key, and they're doing a great job on the French boat right now.
This is like 5 of 7. You can see just how close they are. Canada sitting in dead last. The winners of race number 1, they will go through the next gate, then down, then the left-hand turn to the finish line, and the race will be over.
How costly is that one little mistake?
So Phil Robertson and the Canadians were sitting, what, in 2nd place on that, and now they find themselves in 9th. And this late in the race, Stevie, I think they'll be lucky if they can get in the top 7.
Absolutely. Here we go. Australia, that yellow ley line. Look at France. We've sailed another great upwind leg here. The French on the ley line in 3rd.
Australia, New Zealand, France, Denmark in 4th. Great Britain now up to 5th place. The hometown team, the Americans, dropping back to 6th.
We're seeing some impressive speeds here from France and Denmark, closing that gap. 100% fly time for France. Denmark slightly less. You know, we expect that 100% fly time from the Aussies. They're consistent.
Yeah, they're doing a great job. New Zealand in 2nd. Ainslie has a chance to take the Danish off the course. I'm sure he'll make the most of that. Could see Great Britain up to 4th here. And Burling in 2nd. Could be 2 seconds here. There you go, Ainslie. He's pushed Denmark all the way off the course. Now he has the right of way for this turn. He's very, very slow on the British boat. Great tactical sailing by Ainslie from last to 4th in 1 lap.
See them trying to build the pressure back up so they can get back up on the foils, but they do take the position away from Denmark. So Great Britain from 9th to 4th place. It's still Australia, New Zealand out in front, separated by a mere 100 meters right now. So as you said, Stevie, it's a match race between those two great sailing nations. You've got the 2-time defending champions and Tom Slingsby in Australia, and then you have the man that's won the America's Cup the last 2 times right off his left-hand side.
There you go, centre of screen. That's Jason Waterhouse flying the boat there, trying to push things hard down here. The higher you can get the boat out of the water, the faster you go, and look at the speed of the Australian boat.
So impressive, going from 7th at Mark 1 to 1st. Huge gains by them. Same for the Kiwis.
Yep.
Not the greatest, well, they had a good start, but it wasn't the best. And
they've been consistent, and then France is another team that's moved up from 6th to 3rd. So there you go, Australia, New Zealand, France, Denmark, Great Britain, USA now in 6th, Switzerland in 7th, Spain in 8th, and then Canada after that incident, which may be the move or unmove of the match. We'll focus on that momentarily. They sit in 9th place. So it's a left-hand turn, and now it's a glory run as Australia will make the sprint down to the finish line.
Wow, and there you go. We can see flight wing trimmer there, Kyle Langford. It's his birthday. Could be a birthday bullet for Langford here in front of the crowds. He'll love that. The crowds will love that, I'm sure. Maybe we can sing him happy birthday as he comes into the finish there for race 2, and Australia, great victory. 2 second places for New Zealand, though. We've criticised them for lacking consistency. They've brought in Joe Allais on the back, two-time Olympic medalist. Seems to be a bit of consistency out there, Todd.
So the Aussies claim race number 2 with the Kiwis in second. France with a well-earned third place, their second of the day.
Ainsley, that's a good move by the British boat. They're up to 4th. Popular move with the fans, a really good comeback for the British boat. Could have been a disastrous race here, but a 4th place finish, that's a counter, and everyone on the host seems to be enjoying that.
Denmark will finish in 5th.
It's not a dig, it's just I'm trying to talk to Paco as well. Yeah, okay, yeah. It's just like...
And the Americans will take 6th, 1 spot ahead of the Swiss.
You gotta go wide. Turning, no.
Results going to be pretty tight in the pack, but I think that mistake by the Canadians at the bottom of the course, let's see how much they come to rue that when we get to the end of the day, because points are going to be so tight in this shifty weather, you just can't afford mistakes, and well, that was a big one.
First to last for the Canadians. New Zealand stays consistent to 2nd place, and it is the big winner, Australia, who will back up a 6th place performance for them. Stevie, the conditions look to be about the same as what Lisa's told us, but everyone now getting into that start box, getting the position right.
Well, I think what I heard mostly there from Lisa was gusty, streaky wind. If I put my sailor's hat on, that means I need my head out of the boat. That means my strategist at the back of the boat is going to be crucial. Joe Allais on board the back of the New Zealand boat. We've got Lucy Copeland, Youth Worlds medalist, at the back of the Australian boat. These strategists are having to make the big calls and get them right.
1 minute to go to the 3rd and final race today, and Stevie, this is really the moving moment. This is where you have to pick up the points. If you're a USA, if you're a Spain, Switzerland, you've got to get a big win in this race to catapult yourself, because the points are at a premium. And tomorrow, remember, there's just 2 races to add points to your account.
I think for the teams at the back, it's roll the dice time. You've got to take the risk. If you're not in it at the end of this, you've got a problem. An interesting one, Ben Ainsley said, we can't get off the start line. Can't get off the start line. Well, here he comes. He's late onto screen with 30 seconds to go, tacking. He's now going to be the predator. He's the one coming from behind, looking for the gaps. Will there be a gap? That's the question. Top of the line, Canada. Phil Robertson's going to like what he sees up here. Plenty of space for a good position. Australia and Great Britain, they look out of position to me. I think Ainsley's not going to get a good start from there. It's going to be Canada and New Zealand at the top of the line. They're going to come through with a lot of speed. New Zealand looking for a hole in the middle. Here goes Burling. Watch for the line to turn white. It's going to be fast and furious towards Mark 1. How's your timing, Peter Burling? Clear start.
Money.
That was the money. And it's a sprint now. It's going to be New Zealand and Canada first and second again.
To the umpires. Penalty France, relative Australia. Windward boat not keeping clear.
So the penalty going the way of the French, not affecting the 2 out in front. And once again, they'll duel it on this mark number 1. Look at New Zealand. Look at Canada coming in hot.
Big penalty for France, so they have to drop behind New Zealand, Australia, sorry, because it was a boat-on-boat one. It could be expensive for them as the boats turn, accelerate hard away from Mark 1, and we know they're already setting up for gate number 2 as New Zealand first to jibe, followed by Canada, and those turns were executed perfectly. New Zealand look well set to head straight to gate 2 from here.
Better start for the Americans. France still with that penalty absolved. It is New Zealand, Canada going 1 and 2. The Americans positioned perfectly. Switzerland on the outside. They've got some good win there, but Australia and Denmark and Great Britain out the back.
French still have this penalty. I'm not sure if they've heard. They need to drop behind Australia. The longer they wait, the worse it gets. Okay, penalty clear. They've got rid of it now. Now they're racing. And New Zealand, look, parallel to that yellow line. No more manoeuvres required for Canada and New Zealand to make it to gate 2.
Well, you don't have to be a mathematician to figure this out. New Zealand certainly sailing faster than everyone else as they approach gate number 2, Emily.
Look at the speeds on the top 3 boats there. 66, 67 kilometers an hour from the Kiwis, stretching their legs away from that little group behind them.
Gets chaotic down here at the bottom as they make their way now onto leg number 3 of 7. This is the last race of the day, and for teams like the USA, for teams like Spain, anyone that has hopes of getting into that final, Stevie, they've got to be in the top 3 today.
I think so. I mean, I think it's a big moment. That I'm looking at that leaderboard. Australia 7th, France 8th, GBR 9th. Now, those were the 3 of the top 4 boats before this race. They need to make a move in the next 10 minutes.
Great Britain sitting in 9th place. Moments ago, we talked to Ben Ainsley. He talked about the start, unable to execute that here in this race, but he has been good at working magic halfway through.
Here we go, Switzerland, Seb Schneider, he looks to tack. Now, Australia has the right of way. Has the Swiss team judged it well? Yes, they have. Clear cross there, but it's going to be space for Australia. And when they have space, we know they're fast. Top of the screen, though, going really fast right now. Peter Burling, Blair Tuke, Joe Allais on the back. The brains trust on that New Zealand boat.
Top right, looking pretty good too, with like a compression on the shore.
There you go, that's Pete, that voice of Blair Tuke, sorry, he's got his head out the boat. He's talking about more wind on the shoreline there. It's being squeezed like a funnel, giving a bit more wind. If you can find more wind, that's going to make you go faster.
New Zealand with the lead, leg 3 of 7, Canada in 2nd place. After those minor repairs being made, they look no worse for the wear. The Americans sitting in 3rd, Spain in 4th, and Switzerland up to 5th.
Probably knocking on the way there.
It's the voice of Peter Burling. They're just constantly talking. We can see the arrows on the screen there, shows the direction. We're sailing up the course, they're sailing into the wind, zigzagging their way up there, choosing the best angle they can sail relative to the wind to progress up these ladder lines as fast as possible. Tight in the pack though, Todd, look at that. Top of our screen, we've got what? 6 boats. You could just throw a blanket over them and it's going to be one manoeuvre that could be costly or definitive on the charge through.
So New Zealand looking, if they could walk away with a victory here, that would give them a 1st and 2 seconds, which would almost assure them a spot in the final. Remember, the top 3 move on for the last race of the day to battle it out.
Nice job with the commentator's curse there, Todd. Lovely stuff. I'm sure the Kiwis will be glad to hear that. But yeah, it's very calm on board. That was the voice of Joe Allais saying, no one on our window, no one to watch out for.
The Kiwis stretching their legs again here. 100% fly time. Canadians 99%. 1 kilometre an hour average, slower but not too far behind. We've got this big group up on the top of the screen there coming in that could make it interesting here for the Canadians.
Switzerland, Australia, and France, the top 3 that Emily's referring to, and now here comes some crossing, and there is going to be some tight traffic. Look at this. Everyone making sure who has the right of way, no collisions.
Key here, Todd, is how can I keep my boat going fast in this chaos? Jimmy Spittle's done a great job on board the US. They've really found some good boat speed and managed to wiggle through here. It's so tight. I anticipate this next gate, the near gate, as being super critical for the race. It's going to get very, very tight.
And Burling decides at the last minute he's going to go back to the other side of the course, so obviously seeing something over there, more pressure. So Kiwis take the lead and they hold on to it at gate number 3. The Americans in 2nd, France moves up to 3rd.
Pretty easy for the Kiwis here, but here you go, Jimmy Spittle round. Now it's tight now. On the 3rd position, it's Canada. They look like they've got a little gap through, but Australia will have the right to turn left at the top here if they want to. Are Canada safely around? Yes, they are in 3rd place. Australians, though, from the back of the pack up to 4th again. Harry Houdini, Tom Slingsby pulls it out of the bag. De La Pierre spins the boat fast. Can he get back up on the foils? Could be another place for Australia up to 4th. As the Rockwell Denmark team, they move through into 5th place. It's so tight in the pack. It's going to be meters that matter now.
Tight quarters. New Zealand now out in front. The USA sits behind them, and there they are pulling away. Canada now into 3rd place. I tell you, this would be just what the doctor ordered if the Americans could finish in the top 2, but it is all Kiwi all the time.
Todd, we've waited a year for this. We've waited a year for the Peter Burling and Blair Tuke that we're used to. And well, they've made some big changes at the back of the boat. And at the moment, we're seeing some serious results for that as they are streaking ahead, 300 metres ahead of the 2nd place Canadian boat. Phil Robertson, what a great job of getting themselves back on track on that Canadian boat. No Georgia Llewellyn of France on the back, but Isabella Berthold clearly doing a good job in that strategist role as well, because once again, we've rarely seen the Canadian boat out of position. And in fact, there you go. Place gained relative to Australia. Nice move. Look at the pack. top left of screen, coming in there. This is an opportunity for Ainsley to get back in the race, as the Americans have clearly had a mistake in a manoeuvre. They fell off the foils in a jibe and they've dropped back. Disaster again for the Americans. These mistakes can't continue to happen.
So the Americans go from 2nd to 8th place in the length of less than one leg. It is New Zealand way out in front. Canada now into 2nd place, with Australia moving up to 3rd. Never count out Mr. Slingsby.
It's like Harry Houdini out there. He seems to find a way through the field. Moses splitting the Red Sea. I don't know what the story would be, but he's doing such a good job. But Burling and the New Zealand boat is clinical, and when you're this far ahead, you've got the time, you've got the space to do good manoeuvres. Centre of screen, this is going to be action as we come into the gate here. Ainsley about to jibe. He will have the right of way on the British boat here. The French need to keep clear.
Canada through gate number 4 cleanly. They hold on to 2nd place. And now the chaos will begin. Who's going to go where? Who's going to split away? It's Australia and Tom Slingsby in 3rd. They're around safely as well.
Great Britain have fallen off the foils in that manoeuvre, though. They've left the door open for the boats behind. De La Pierre, he's in the pack, but he's still hanging himself in there well. The Spanish crew back in the match, and this is the final upwind leg now. Just an upwind and a downwind, and then a sprint to the finish.
Great Britain drops back to 7th place, so Ben Ainsley will look for some speed here on this leg. You see the wind holding around 19 kilometers an hour. New Zealand seems to be finding it. I don't know if it's the new paint job, the new sponsor, or what, but Pete Burling and company are doing a fantastic job here in Plymouth. Alvarium, welcome aboard.
And here we can see why the US have dropped back 94% fly time. We couldn't see it on the screen, but clearly they had a bad maneuver, dropped off the foils and dropped from that 2nd place all the way to the back. Crucial here to keep up on the foils and going fast.
Look at that, an absolute masterclass from the Kiwis at the moment. They are down the road on board that New Zealand boat. Boat flying so nice and high out the water. You see it's lent towards the sailors. That helps get more efficient angle into the boat. It makes the boat and the foils perform more powerfully, more efficiently, and that's going to give them more boat speed.
Nice and calm on board the Kiwi boat. Canada in 2nd, Australia moving into 3rd, France in 4th, Denmark holding on in 5th. Great Britain is now slid into 6th place, with Switzerland, Spain, and the USA bringing up the rear. So to Stevie's point, this is leg 5. They'll go around one more gate, then down, and then it's the left of the finish line, and that will put a wrap on today's racing. But then we will start crunching the numbers. And right now, Stevie, you got to say, New Zealand, unless something disastrous happens, they're going to walk away with a 2nd, a 2nd, and a 1st, and they're going to be firmly in control.
Yeah, I mean, they've done a lovely job today, and that's what they've lacked, is that consistency. It's been their hamstring, really, let's be honest. But they need to make a final. They look calm on board there. Joe Allais at the back of the boat, head out the boat, looking around. Peter Burling, well, he's won everything, hasn't he? But he's not won anything in SailGP just yet. So they'll be knowing this is an important moment for them. It was 10 years ago in London with a silver medal in the 49er class that they announced themselves in the world sailing at the top of the pile. Well, maybe this is where they announced themselves in SailGP.
Staying calm on board the comms, the boat slicing through the Plymouth Sound. Their maneuvers have been clean and crisp throughout. The addition of Joe Allais, it is all seeming to come together for the Kiwis here on day number 1. Remember, 2 more fleet races tomorrow before the final, and that's just the top 3 boats. And it looks like New Zealand will most certainly be one of those top 3 boats.
All sounds very, look at the acceleration on board the boat there, straight into angle, lean the boat on top of them, gain themselves more righting moment, more power in that big wing sail there. It just, the more power you can generate, it's more horsepower, like in a car, the more horsepower you can generate, the faster you go.
So New Zealand through cleanly, and then it's everyone else. Denmark now has moved up to 2nd place with Australia in 3rd. France is dropping back to 5th. Canada going to 4th. The Americans making a slight push up out of 9th into 7th. Those points can matter. And then it's Switzerland and Spain. Great Britain sitting in the middle of the fleet. Nothing spectacular right now, as we got a nice crossing there as Australia has to dip behind Canada. And here comes Denmark in 2nd.
Denmark are allowed to turn inside, but Canada will be faster when they exit the mark. Hested has done a masterful job up this leg, and what a good manoeuvre by the Danish crew. Really hard manoeuvre. They executed that turn so well. Third place for Canada. Australia, he just does not go away on board that Australian boat. Right in the fight, and it's a sprint now. Final downwind leg, just 2 or 3 minutes of this race left. Any mistake now will be disastrous, but New Zealand,
look at that.
They could probably make a couple of mistakes and they're still going to be in good shape from there.
They could row it home. At 64 kilometers an hour, they are more than 500 meters ahead of the rest of the fleet, on their way to a certain victory here in race number 3, which will give them a second, and a first. And then it is Denmark, Canada, and Australia right now battling out for who will finish in the top 3 here in the third and final race of the day. A beautiful setting here in Plymouth on the Sound as the Hoe is packed with fans, and Great Britain are trying to find themselves some more points. Stevie, it's so key. I mean, a 5th is so much better than a 6th. A 4th is so much better than a 5th.
Every point counts. When it gets to the end of this, there's only going to be a point in it between making the final and not. And yeah, every place matters. You've got to keep doing the right thing. Keep doing the right thing. Ainsley knows that. He's won more than anyone else out there, so he'll be doing those simple things. But Peter Burling, wow.
We've seen plenty of close crosses in this race, which has seen that scoreboard mix it up so much. The Danish going from 7th to 2nd, the Brits going from last up to 6th, while the Kiwis, they're just showing off out the front, coming in now to that finish line.
Yeah, look how smooth that is. Just foiling perfect level as they come through. It is New Zealand that will take the win in race number 3, and they will take hold of the overall leaderboard here at the Great Britain Sail Grand Prix Plymouth. And what an honor to be able to fly past the Hoe with all the fans that have turned out.
There is quite a lot of people up there, Pete. That's right. There's a lot of people out for SailGP, and a brilliant job for Nikolai Sehested. It almost looked like a football stadium, Plymouth Hoe, right there, full of the spectators. Great view of the racing, and wow, long way behind New Zealand, but 7th to 2nd. This could be a regatta-defining race for the Danish crew. Big gains. They're going to come way up the leaderboard with this recovery.
Yeah, no question about it. Denmark finished 8th in the first race. They came back and finished 5th in the second race, and now a 2nd place in race number 3. So that will certainly help their cause in trying to make the final on Sunday. And then it is Canada coming through. So the Canadians a little bit up and down, but again, after that little bit of damage in race number 2 where they finished in 9th place, a nice rebound. As a lot of people say, it's not what you do in the tragic moments, it's what you do afterwards, and a nice rebound, a nice recovery by Phil Robertson, the Canadians.
It is Tom Slingsby in 4th on the Australian boat. Consistent day, but keep saying that, don't we? Quentin de la Pierre, the French, 5th place. Solid day for the French crew. They were right in the pack in that race, never quite managed to get out. Ainsley probably keeps his hopes alive. Just, they've managed to dig themselves out. Pretty easy debrief for the British. Get off the start line.
So a 4-4 and a 6 for them. The 7th place is being held down by the Americans, and not the result they were looking for when they were sitting in 2nd place at one point in this race.
Yeah, a lot more promising signs with the starting for the Americans here. They put themselves in a position at Mark 1, but still some manoeuvres. That downwind leg, they went from 2nd all the way back to 8th with one bad manoeuvre, fell off the foils. Young Swiss crew, well, tough day for them, but I'm sure they'll be learning lots. Nathan Outridge, well, he was with us in the commentary booth last time. He's probably got a big night ahead of him. There was a lot of learnings to be found. This young Spanish crew bringing it home night. To me, that's disappointing. Yesterday in practice, they looked really good, but today, the manoeuvres aren't sticking. The gusty, changeable conditions is really testing everyone's skill.
90 seconds to go until the start of race number 4. It's Championship Sunday here in Plymouth. As the Americans look to turn their fortunes around, they had problems in Bermuda and Chicago. And right now, they're probably already thinking about the next event, which is coming up August 19th and 20th in Copenhagen, Denmark. But right now, there's work to be done as we come up on a minute to go before the start of race number 4 here on Championship Sunday at the Great Britain Sail Grand Prix of Plymouth. So 1 minute to go for the start of the race. Stevie, we've seen everyone coming from the back, the left side of the screen. We've seen people try to hug that inside line on the right side of the screen. Where do you think the fastest track is?
I think at the moment you can see the pre-positioning happening.
This is the umpires. Penalty New Zealand, relative Switzerland.
Ooh, Wow,
Right off the bat.
Said it was going to take two big mistakes. Well, you're making a mistake at 40 seconds out there. They're going to need to start back behind the Swiss boat here at the start line. Disaster. Top of screen, Great Britain and Ben Ainsley. He was the first boat heading back towards the start line. Great Britain and USA, they're in good controlling position here. They should be well set for a start. Lisa talked about it being very gusty on the water, so getting up on the foils, judging that acceleration is going to be really hard. Now we're coming in. The French early back towards the line. Out the back of the fleet at the moment, Canada, Switzerland and Spain are going to struggle from here, but with 7 seconds to go, it's going to be Great Britain. USA, they've got the boats up to speed. The French foiling in fast. Watch for the lines turn white. It's a clear start. The French at nearly 52 kilometres an hour. They're going to be fast as we head towards Mark 1. Delapierre with the pressure on. Looks like he's going to lead the fleet away.
Simple math as the French hit the line at full speed as they will make the move to mark number 1 first. The Americans and Great Britain with a great start this time.
It's a brilliant start by the French boat. Delapierre, he had a fantastically consistent day yesterday. Jimmy Spithill, well, he's been starting well. Can he stay where he starts? They need a big result on board the USA. They need to get the boat handling good. And there, Rockwell and Denmark, this really does open up the competition to make that final place.
France holding down the 3rd and final position into the final right now. The Americans, they are way down in the leaderboard. And Great Britain, they are battling for their life to get into the top 3. Who's going to blink first?
Nice move on the French, looking for this hull to the left of your screen to stay dry. If it does, it's a good foiling manoeuvre. They're on the foils, they look good. Gate 2, top of the screen, that's where they're all heading to at the moment, and you can see, looking at these ladder lines, nearly 100 metres ahead is the French and Quentin Delapierre, and he has the ability to make his own decisions. When it's shifty like this, there's an opportunity to sail less distance, and the French can take that.
And here you've got the French doing 60 kilometres an hour downwind. That's equivalent to around 30 knots. So those are the numbers we should be looking out for today.
Great job by the French here now. They look like they're lined up for a right turn at the bottom of the course. Ainsley on board the British boat. He's overtaken the Americans down here, but that's a lovely rounding by the French. If you're in the lead in these conditions, you get to make your own choices. All the boats look keen on a right turn, and again, potentially 2 places lost by the US at the moment. They've sailed a little too wide, a little bit too much extra distance, and Nikolai Sehested, he's in the battle for the top 3 as well. And the Denmark Rockwell team round in 3rd. Good first leg by them.
So the Americans hoping at gate number 2 that this falling back is not going to be a trend. They were in 2nd place at Mark 1. They decide to make a quick maneuver here, and it will be the Americans in 4th, but it is all France all the time right now in the lead.
There we go. Quentin Delapierre doing well, but New Zealand back in 7th. Well, luckily they had a good race yesterday, so they should be still in strong position. At the moment, there's been a big shift in the wind. Look, the wind has turned to the right. The crews are struggling to progress up the ladder line. They're nearly sailing parallel to it. It's not good news for the French, could be good news for Jimmy Spithill, and it'll certainly be opportunity for Peter Burling and his New Zealand crew to get back in the race.
And to Stevie's point, look at this. Look at the angle they're sailing back up into the wind as the Americans now pull even with the French.
There's a lot of pressure on the American boat, but a lot of the debrief last night was quite positive. They were quite happy. They felt things were going well. Look at them on the right-hand side. Tucked down, streamlined position, French in the background. When they next turn the boat, the Americans will have the right of way. So at the moment, for me, the Americans hold the lead, and there you go. The lines there show us that's the case.
And the speeds here are showing the split across the course. The USA are on the right side of the course, the Australians on the left. So far, we've seen the US with more breeze on that right-hand side, holding higher average speeds.
The question is, can Jimmy Spithill and the Americans hold on to this lead over the next 5 legs of this race and pick up a win here?
Look at the direction change on board the American boat there. They turn across there. The wind has shifted. That's an opportunity to minimize the distance you sail. They've turned away from the gate. They turn the boat one more time now. All of them cross the... Oh, it's a bad turn on the American boat, though. In the wind at the moment, it's Denmark. They've got more wind. They're sailing a lot faster.
Denmark decides to make a maneuver, and off to their left-hand side now, Great Britain and Ben Ainsley getting into the picture. So now we've got 4 boats as they approach the next gate.
It's like snakes and ladders out there at the moment, Todd. If you can get yourself in a gust of wind and get going faster, the chance to jump up the leaderboard is huge. 200 meters to go. Those arrows showing us the direction of travel for the fleet. And America from first back to fourth in the blink of an eye. And it's Ben Ainsley and Great Britain now setting up for a maneuver. In the background, Denmark are going to turn at the same time. Let's watch them turn. Oh, bad tack by Denmark. They just save it. Good save. Do they get clear ahead? It's going to be tight, but I think they are. Could be a lead at gate 3 for Denmark.
It's crucial here for Denmark and the Great British team to beat the Australians if they want a chance at making the final.
As it stands right now, as France is going to have to dip behind the USA, they have the right of way. As it stands right now, it is New Zealand, Australia, and France holding down those top 3 positions. And we'll see how it plays out on the next race.
Big maneuver by Ainsley there. The tack and then another turn at the top to bear the boat away. Denmark in the background maneuver the boat one more time. The wind is shifting all the time. What that means is you've got to try and keep the boat pointing towards the next gate as much as possible. Minimize the distance you sail. That's how you're going to be able to overtake other boats. Shortest distance, really, really important today. And Denmark, Nikolaj Sejersted, doing a lovely job of piecing that all together at the moment. Here we go. Ben Ainsley looks good.
All right, let's check in down on the water with Lisa Darmanin.
Oh, it's so challenging out here. I've just been watching, not knowing which way to go, but I think the key today is sailing a shorter distance. It's super, super puffy, as I said at the beginning, but I think what the sailors really have to be onto is that the wind you're sailing is not necessarily the same wind as your competitors. So it's a really sail your own race and sail shorter distance day out here.
Stevie, are they thinking 1, maybe even 2 maneuvers ahead, knowing that what Lisa's saying, the wind is so shifty today?
Absolutely. They're trying to position themselves as best they can, but what they really need to be doing is focusing on their boat and letting themselves sail the boat well to be looking ahead. Yeah, that's Sejersted. He thinks he might be able to make it straight to the gate with no more turns, but it's going to be tight. On the inside, it's Ainsley. He will have the right of way.
Oh
this is so tight here. Sejersted must give him room. Oh, that was a tight manoeuvre by Ainsley, but what a manoeuvre. He's on the inside. I'm surprised if there won't be a protest. Sejersted pushed that so close. But Ainsley, well, he needed to deliver in race 4 today. Be nothing better than a first place finish to help him in his fight for the final.
Let's look at that one more time. Stevie, you talk about Great Britain having the right of way. Look on board with Denmark.
Great Britain are on the inside. They're allowed to turn around that mic. Sejersted and Denmark must give him room. It was tight, but for me it was fair. That was a good, tight racing manoeuvre. Ainsley saw a chance and took it.
So the rest of the fleet making their way down to the bottom of the course. Meanwhile, it is Denmark and Great Britain out in front, both of them on the outside looking in, trying to get into the top 3. And a 1-2 finish here for both of these squads, Stevie and Emily, would be huge going forward.
I think we need to probably take a breath and have a little bit of a think about the scores. But yes, looking ahead to the race for the final, for Denmark and Great Britain, this is amazing. But there's no sign of Canada. There's no sign of Australia. The pressure's really on. Oh, here we go. On to turning the boat. They have the right of way on Denmark, but Ainsley looks like he's clear ahead. He sets up for one more turn. It's going to be a match race between these two at the head of the fleet. But can the French, can the Australians find their way back into the race? It's tight. Certainly, at the moment, de la Pierre's not going away, but he has a penalty.
Quentin Delapierre and France have a penalty absolved. You see the P next to their name, traveling at 43 kilometers an hour. Tom Slingsby, the 2-time defending champion, the winner of the first 2 events of the season, he currently sits in 4th place. But it is on in full with Denmark and Great Britain battling for position here on the Plymouth Sound.
This is going to be huge when we look at the points. With the British winning, if they win this race, that's another 10 points. They'll be ahead of the Kiwis as it currently stands.
Great turn by the British there. Denmark, of course, 2012 when Ben Ainsley won his 4th gold medal. The silver medalist then was a Danish sailor. Jonas Christensen, heavily involved with the Danish team, so he's been here before. He knows how to deliver underwater. This is the final upwind leg, not a lot of the race left. And there's Ben Ainsley taking a look at what's happened.
And look at Australia coming into view as well. So it'll be up to the top of the course, then back down, and then the long straightaway blast to the finish line for the conclusion of race number 4. And right now it is Great Britain, Ben Ainslie and squad doing exactly what they needed to do. But here comes Slingsby.
Slingsby and Australia have the right of way. Denmark must take avoiding action. That's going to be tight. They've done a nice job, but that's Slingsby up to second. He's sailing fantastically in these shifty winds, managing to minimise the distance.
Right, gate for 120 it is.
It's Ainslie and Ian Jensen, the wing trim, are talking to each other. They're trying to make a plan. Are we going to turn right at the top? Are we going to turn left at the top? Listening in on the British. Oh, there we go. Sorry about the industrial language there.
Massive right hander. Yep, tacking.
Winds dropped completely for the British and shifted. They've fallen off the foils. They're vulnerable. They're a sitting duck at the moment. They need to re-accelerate. Look at the speed difference. Top of mast, 20 kilometres now, Great Britain. Australia, 38. They need to get foiling again on the British boat or they could lose vital points.
When you can.
And quickly back up and foiling, so Ben Ainslie and squad do a masterful job as the rest of the fleet was closing in on them. Now it's Tom Slingsby in Australia cutting on the inside of Denmark, and they will take over second position.
Very, very weird pressure plane, Aim high. And board.
Remember, coming in today, it was all New Zealand with 28 points. Emily, they are having not the best race, that is an understatement, but they can afford to have a problem here. The rest of the fleet, though, is 6 boats basically battling for 3 positions.
It is, but having a result this bad could really impact the Kiwis. The Brits here are going to move ahead of them on the leaderboard after this race, and the Danish are also going to be closing that gap dramatically with the French and the Aussies.
Canada also having a problematic day here in race number 4 after picking up a big victory yesterday, and then that one incident where they put the nose into the water and they finished in 9th place. So Phil Robertson looking for a big rebound. Steve, this is going to put huge amount of implications on race 5.
It's a lot on it, but look, the wind is changing direction all the time. The British, they've sailed a long distance, top of screen. Slingsby's almost sailing straight down the course at the moment, straight towards the gate. Has Ainslie made this call right? On paper, the Australians are neck and neck with the British. It's going to depend on how many more turns there are to do. I think off the screen, Peter Burling has managed to pull a bit of a rabbit out of a hat and gotten himself back into the race. It's tight. One more turn for the Australians. Here they go. They have the right of way, but have they closed the gap to Ainslie and the British? It doesn't look like it to me.
And look at the speed difference. Great Britain still hovering around 54 kilometers an hour. The Australians drop down to 45.
Great shot here, top of screen. Look at those dark patches of water. Look at the different colours on the water. That's gusts of wind. And at the moment you can see it, a big gust of wind, top of screen. New Zealand doing 60 kilometres an hour. They're absolutely flying back into this race.
So the Kiwis have moved up to 5th place, just 1 spot behind France. They hold down positions 1 and 3 currently on the overall standings, but it is Ben Ainslie that has made the left-hand turn, and he's heading towards the hoe, and all the fans that have turned out to see a great British performance. Remember, this is a huge weekend of sporting events in England with the Commonwealth Games, SailGP, and of course the Women's Euro title game, England versus Germany. And here's where they stand at the moment, Emily.
And if the results stay like this for this race, New Zealand will still be in the lead, but the British team will be going into that final. But it's still all to play for. Another race to go after this.
And Great Britain will bring it home and pick up the victory in race number 4, a much-needed showing for Ben Ainslie and company.
There we go, that's the voice of Ian Jensen talking about what's ahead as they sail back towards the hoe. There's a lot more land around. That land will block the wind, will shift the wind around, change the direction of it. Still all to play for. That's why Ben Ainslie was looking out the back there, checking where his opposition are. And we can see now those points are going to be so tight.
Probably will have to tack here.
And race number 4 will go the way of Great Britain. Ben Ainslie, after not the best performance on day number 1, comes back in day number 2, and the first race of the day sends a message to the rest of the fleet. The Brits are back as they claim the win in race 4. So Great Britain comes across the line, and it is official. Great Britain will win race number 4, much to the delight of the fans up on the hoe.
Great Job there. He said, nice hustle, guys, and I think without doubt that was a real hustle for Ben Ainsley and the crew. They really worked hard on the wind shift. It was tight at times. Nikolai Seherstedt and his crew put up a fantastic battle. But yeah, we can see it's so shifty, so changeable. You've got to stay focused on your own world. Great job by the Danish, great job by the British. And Australia, again, he does seem so good at working his way back through the fleet. Showing third at the moment. Still some sailing to do yet for the Australian boat to get across that line, though.
Well, everyone doing some quick work on the abacus right now to find out exactly where these points will put them. Great work by the Australians and Tom Slingsby, the two-time defending champions, as they will finish in third place. And the French and Quentin Delapierre will come into fourth.
There's really big changes in the wind direction across there, and we can see the Australians lost the Danish on that last leg. They got caught out by a big change of direction in the wind. Canada, look at the left-hand side of the screen. They were so good yesterday, bar that one mistake, but a 9th place, that could pretty much end their hope of a podium finish here in Plymouth. Delapierre and the French crew, well, they've done, well, look, New Zealand in the background, they're having to do an extra 2 turns to get to the finish line. The wind is so tricky and changeable under the hoe. This race is not going to be over until it's over.
The Americans also in the same boat.
Oh, you see
look
there.
At this.
That was the voice of Peter Burling. I've lost the rudders. They fell too high. You can see in the bottom of the screen the water there, all foamy and ventilating. That's no good. But coming across the line in 5th place for New Zealand, and it's Jimmy Spitter. Wow, it was near but not quite again for the American crew. Another 6th place finish. Wow, it all happened on that final leg in towards Plymouth Hoe. A lot of changes. 7th place for Spain and Jordi Chamard after a tricky day before. Seb Schneider and the Swiss team going to get an 8th, and wow, disaster for Canada, Todd.
Yeah, you look at Canada, they win the first race in race number 1 yesterday, and then they come back and have that problem where they had put the nose in. They finish in 9th, but then they back it up in race number 3 with a 3rd, and then they start day 2 out with another 9th place, Stevie. And to your point, that is almost going to seek their chances of getting into that final.
Yeah, I mean, it was a mistake yesterday where they flew off the foils, broke the boat. I mean, this is just it's a tricky tactical day's racing out here. It's the kind of day today where mistakes can happen, but if you've already had a bad one, you just have to deliver. And wow, the British crew to come out firing with a 1st place finish is great, but limping across the line in last place. Yeah, probably the first time they've ever finished last in a race. It's going to be interesting how Phil Robertson can try and pick that crew back up, see if they can give one big finish at the end of the racing here. 1:15 to go. Pre-start manoeuvring is underway.
Lisa Darman's reporting of the shifty winds confirmed by both Tom Slingsby and Ben Ainsley, so we'll see if those conditions persist here as we are 1 minute away now from the start of race 5. All right, so now the dance begins to get in the right position. Stevie, I'm sure you're going to see some teams taking some high-risk opportunities to get themselves into that final. For everyone else, if you don't make it in the top 3, your day is done.
Todd, we had a great camera angle there. The wind is really changed in direction. The boats are able to sail almost parallel to the start line. The wind almost coming off Drake's Island to the left of our screen. This means this is not a normal start. It's a rethink, it's a replan. Who's going to get the plan right? Who can think on their feet? Because routine is out the window. It's about dealing what you've got in the moment. Great Britain at the bottom of the line. New Zealand at the top of the line. 2 different visions here. Who's got it right? France are going to struggle to get on the foils from there. It's all about getting your timing right and your takeoff right. France way out the back at the moment. Great Britain, they're slumbering down, sat off the foils, and at the top of the line it's going to be tight. 6 seconds, 5 seconds locked for the line to go white. New Zealand and Australia look to have timed things well. Who can get foiling first? That will be crucial. New Zealand, they're going to be second across the line, really tight here, but look, already a manoeuvre for Canada. The wind has rotated so far. The course is not as planned. Opportunity aplenty for everyone, but it's about finding the wind to get on the foils, and I think New Zealand are building speed. Look at the top of the wings, and the magic number we're looking for here on the takeoff is going to be around 30 kilometers an hour to get up in the air.
So a much different start than we've seen in races previous to this here at the Great Britain Sail Grand Prix in Plymouth as the wind cooperated, and as Stevie said, now it is time to change the tactics all the way. The Mark 1 is off the left-hand side, and no one is up in foiling as of yet.
We said that was the voice of Pete Burling. I don't know where the mark is. Pretty crucial
going back left, so it's a bit easier.
This is when you need that extra set of eyes, and now it seems like they have spotted it, and now the course to the left-hand side.
35 kilometers an hour there for New Zealand. That means they're going to be up on the foils here. Australians as well starting to pick up speed. The Danish shouldn't be too far behind them now.
That's good news for Denmark right now, currently sitting in third place. They come up on mark number 1 on the left-hand side, going where the wind takes them, and look at the speed starting to pick up now for the Kiwis and the Aussies, 1 and 2.
Rich get richer, you get on the foils, you start to accelerate, you build more of your own wind, and New Zealand there, they have converted that great start into a lead despite the tricky conditions. But wow, it's already a different course. They've sailed a lot of extra distance than they'd like to so far. It's going to be about trying to spot the wind, trying to minimise the distance you sail from here.
Down from there.
Now, in order for the Danish to make the final, they need to keep some boats in between them and the British, because right now the British are 2 points ahead of them on that leaderboard.
France also even with Great Britain on 29, so Denmark will certainly be crunching the numbers to make sure the French and the British are way behind, or at least 2 or 3 positions behind them, so they can get that third and final spot. The way it stands right now, though, if the race were to end at this position, it would be New Zealand, Australia, and Denmark getting into that final.
There's a lot of golf left in this hole, Todd, I can assure you of that. USA take a penalty over there on the boundary, but there, New Zealand, well, they were dominant yesterday, struggled in the first race here today, but they've got themselves up and running. Look, camera angle there shows us dark patch of water near the Swiss. That's a big gust of wind. There's less wind where Australia are, and it's no surprise to see them turn the boat. They're trying to find wind, and they're falling off the foils. Under 30 kilometres an hour, there's a dead in the water on those 2 boats. It's all going to be a long, long race. It's going to get tense.
New Zealand, Australia in good positions, and right now Canada and the USA are Denmark's best friends. If they can stay in between Denmark and Great Britain and France, that means the Danes will go through to the final.
This will change in a blink of an eye, Todd. Top of the screen, there's a huge dark patch on the water. That's a big gust of wind, and we can see the boats at the bottom here. They've run out of wind at the moment. 18 kilometres an hour. Don't be surprised to see a complete reshuffle. Good news, left-hand side of screen, Denmark up on the foils. They're going to very quickly be in the lead here.
And Canada has moved into first place as the conditions continue to move around. We check in on the water with Lisa. And Lisa, tell us what it's like down there. What are you seeing and what are you seeing and what are you feeling?
Well, we're so close to the hills of Plymouth that it's really like you don't know what's going to happen until the wind hits the water. So it's really hard to anticipate. We saw so many teams get caught out there. So I think we could see a full reshuffle again. There's plenty of wind at the top of the course, but there's nothing at the bottom of the course where all the boats are now. So I'd be pretty nervous on those F50s at the moment. And I think there's going to be a lot of patience needed as well.
Plenty of patience needed, and well, no one's been more patient than the New Zealand crew. Okay, that's the voice of Blair Tuke talking to Pete Burling. It's still light winds here. Be careful. If it's light winds, mouse and carpet slippers. Everything needs to be gentle. Keep it smooth. Try and minimise the number of times you turn. Here we go. Australia, what a move by Slingsby. Swings the boat around on the inside. Didn't think there was room for that, but he's found it. And in the background, Canada as well. They're back in the race. But only boat foiling at the front of the fleet now is Australia. New Zealand again down under 16 kilometres an hour. Ben Ainsley struggling for speed, but Australia, look at him go.
And we're getting information from race management that the race has been shortened. It will terminate at gate number 4. So they are on leg 3 of 7. Again, it will terminate at gate number 4, and the race will conclude, and hopefully the wind will build for the final. But look at Canada. They were in first. They are now in fourth, both holes in the water.
Just so gusty and changeable the conditions here. Meters are going to move all over the place. New Zealand, they were so comfortably in the lead early on here. Ainsley, 7th place at the moment on board the British boat, but he's doing well. Out in the front, how are the Australians doing? Oh, they've run out of wind as well. Here we go. They're going to be gripping that steering wheel. So tense at the moment. Look at that, Tom's. Let's listen to Tom. Carl Langford and Tom Slingsby, they're trying to guess what the wind's going to do next. It's so slow, so delicate. It's all about finding that next gust of wind. Look in the background. Rockwell and Denmark look like they're starting to go fast. Ainsley in 4th, up on the foils. That could be enough at this point. He needs to catch Rockwell, Denmark. He needs to be within 2 places of them to make the final. Ainsley's on a charge. Has he left it too late, or can he find a way back into this race?
And another splashdown. Great Britain runs out of wind. So it's New Zealand, Denmark, Australia, Great Britain, and the USA. The top 5 right now here in race number 5. Remember, only the top 3 teams overall will move on to the final.
Definitely more wind on this left-hand side of the course, Todd. That's where Great Britain are, that's where New Zealand are, so that's good news for them. Australia to the right of the screen. They're struggling to find that wind, and at the moment, Denmark back on the foils. It's going to be so tight.
This race to the final is the tightest we have ever seen here. The Danish right now are just ahead of the Aussies. That would put them tied on points if they were to finish like this. Meanwhile, the British are just behind them and have been doing the best speeds out of everyone so far in this last leg.
And as you look at tiebreakers, Emily, as it comes down to the final race, if there is a tie for third between Denmark and Great Britain, how is that going to be settled?
It will come down to whoever won the last race.
Well, here we go, but I don't know, we need to think about everyone here. This is changing all the time. Great Britain, if they pass Australia, Great Britain are ahead of Australia on the overall points. So this is very tight as the boats work the way upwind here. Denmark, well, they've cemented things down, got themselves up on foiling. It's so gusty, so changeable, and look in the background. They're struggling to get even going. Ainsley knows he must beat the Australians, but out in front, Burling's making it look a cakewalk at the moment.
New Zealand in the lead. Denmark sits in second. Great Britain in third. This is gate number 3. They will race down to the bottom of the course, and the race will finish at gate number 4. So right now, feeling very good for New Zealand, and Pete Burling and company doing a great job with the new sponsor, Alvarium, coming on board. They have bounced back in a big-time way. Remember, going to yesterday, the win in the 2 second places will get them on 28 points, and now they look good to pick up a win, possibly here in race number 5, and cement their position into the final. The battle will be, I think, Emily, correct me if I'm wrong, between Denmark and Great Britain at this point, because there's a lot of points still out there. And look at this, as it's confirmed, Australia, Great Britain, and Denmark, the position they're right now, they would fall out.
Yeah, as they stand, it's so close at the moment, but what Peter Burling and New Zealand done is managed to get ahead. Without doubt, there is a tie between Great Britain and Australia. Denmark sit 1 point out of the final race at the moment. Were Australia to overtake Great Britain would be out of the final, and we can see Slingsby, he knows that. It's a match race. Look at the two of them, all over each other at the moment. Ainsley turns the boat, tries to block the wind getting through to Australia. If he can block the wind getting through to the Australians, it will slow them down. Oh, this is reminiscent of Sydney in 2000, Ainsley's first ever gold medal. He's used to these high-pressure situations, and this is right on the limit as the two boats at this final turning mark. There's meters in it. Ainsley knows he must stay ahead of Australia right now.
New Zealand and Denmark 1 and 2. Then it's Great Britain and Australia battling it out. Who will grab the points to get them into the top 3? The Americans now coming through, currently sitting in 5th place. For the rest of the fleet, looks like their day is going to be done. France did themselves no favor in this 5th race.
Difference of opinion there. We heard Ainsley say we've got a jibe. We heard Slingsby say great pressure this way. He likes the wind he's got that way. And at the moment, Slingsby's heading straight down the course. He's found good wind. He's found a good opportunity. He's now on the attack. Who's got it right? Ainsley or Slingsby?
See the speeds on top. Great Britain traveling at 56 kilometers an hour. Australia at 51. The wind picking up in this section, but will it carry them down? Remember, the gate will be the finish line. It'll be gate number 4.
There we go, New Zealand are off down the road there. They've turned the final gate. Denmark, they've done a great job here of sorting this out. New Zealand have finished. Sorry, that's my mistake. New Zealand take the win. Denmark lined up well here. Can they make it with no more manoeuvres? Ainsley here. One more turn to do before he lines himself up for the finish, but left of screen, it's Australia. Australia has the right of way. Ainsley turns the boat one last time. He needs to cross clear ahead of the Australians to hope to make the final. It's tight. It's really tight.
And Great Britain just gets past.
These two
This is the
boats have been...
umpires, penalty GBR.
Oh, he's got to drop behind. Oh, he's got to drop behind. We're on board GBR, distraught GBR, distraught. He's got to fall behind Australia, and that's going to be at the finish line. Disaster for Great Britain. Oh, my word. It went to the umpires, and the umpires have decided it there. Chief umpire Craig Mitchell, the penalty to Ainsley. Oh, wow.
That did not settle well with Ben Ainsley within 200 meters of the finish line and a possible spot in the final, and the penalty is assessed.
And that should be it, Todd. That should mean that Great Britain missed the final, tied on points with the Danish, I believe. No mathematician, Spanish. Good finish. Look at the distraught faces on the British boat. Can't believe it. Nick Hutton, grinder, centre of screen there. Hannah Diamond in the background. Excuse the language, tense times out on the water here. But yeah, look at that distraught Nick Hutton. Hometown, he lives just 20 miles from Plymouth. Nothing he'd want to do more than perform in front of home crowds. And, well, it was taken away by the referee.
Well, that's going to be something that will be analyzed, and they will see exactly where the infraction took place. But in the eyes of the officials and chief umpire Craig Mitchell, Australia was fouled.
Well done, guys. Awesome.
All right, Stevie, you're going to put your chief umpire hat on. Was this a penalty?
Well, it's hard to know the distances. It's really tight. Right of way with Australia. We call it a Hollywood. Slingsby certainly made it look good with that big turn up, looking like he's making drastic action to avoid. I mean, to be fair, the technology they have on these boats nowadays, the umpires can judge to within a couple of centimetres. So if it was a foul, I'm sure it was a foul. But yeah, there was nothing wrong with Tom Slingsby's acting skills in that one, that's for sure.
So not a lot of time to digest what has taken place. Stevie, now 2 minutes away from the start of the final race, and the title is on the line.
I think we heard from Tom Slingsby, the wind is so changeable, there's no favourite. I think with the two finals we've seen him win so far this year, I would put down as boat speed races. How fast can you go? This is not a boat speed race. This is a race, strategic, tactical, and I think our strategists at the back there, we're looking at the moment at Lucy Copeland, Youth World Championship medalist, and she's going to have her eyes out the boat. Clearly did a great job in that last race. We've got Joe Allais at the back of the boat, and we've got Katja Salsgaard Iversen on the back of the Danish boat, and I really think those athletes from the Female Pathway programme, big pressure on them. It's going to all be about getting your head out the boat, find the wind. If you find more wind, you're going to go faster. That's what it's going to take to win.
Well, the Aussies have been in this position plenty of times before. They've been in the biggest races before, but for New Zealand and Denmark, this is new territory. So do they let it all hang out and just let it rip? We're about to find out. Less than a minute to go to figure things out. If you're Nikolai Sehested, you know what? Why not go out and try to win this whole shot, Stevie, and get that lead at mark number 1? But Pete Burling has been masterful this weekend in the Plymouth Sound.
He has. We know it's all about the next 43 seconds, though, positioning-wise. New Zealand, top of screen. They're already setting up for a run-up. He's going to plan to come at this late and fast. Leading back, trying to control things is Rockwool Denmark, Nikolai Sehested. And, well, already foiling, we see New Zealand. I think this could be a good strategic call. If his timing's right, Peter Burling, middle of screen, bottom of screen, more conventional, Denmark and Australia. Australia has control. Sehested tries to block the Australians. They turn 17 seconds, 15. All about timing here. Burling looks early to me. He's trying to dive through on the inside. Just 10 seconds to go. It'll all be about who can be on the foil first. 5 seconds. 4. Watch for the line to turn. White. Burling still foiling. All 3 boats are foiling. It could be Sehested from here, who can drive down over the top of the other boats. It's going to be a sprint, but Burling wins the start.
50 kilometers an hour there for the Danish team, rolling over the top of the others, but it is a full sprint to mark 1 here.
So the Kiwis on the left-hand side, the Aussies in the middle, and the Danes on the outside. Who will get to mark 1 first and take control of this final race?
I think it's going to be the New Zealand crew that can lead here, but they're going to be absolutely neck and neck with the Danish boat on the outside. First time we've seen the Australians not leading at Mark 1 in a final. Board goes down, instant turn for the Australians. Slingsby thinks he's seen something. He's looking to take another opportunity and move up the fleet, and Burling, well, he responds.
Nikolai Sehested and Denmark decide to stay on this course. The Kiwis and the Aussies peel away.
A much better maneuver for the Kiwis there. The Aussies drop down to 28 kilometers an hour in that jibe, and now dropped off of the foils while the Kiwis are burning away downwind.
Stevie, this has got to be strange, though. You're in this final race now. Instead of 9 chaotic boats out there at high speed, you've just got 3. So does it change your strategy or the way you sail this course at all?
The day-to-day, Todd's been about sailing your boat and putting the boat in the best you can with what you've got. Burling and the New Zealand boat have done a great job of that. That was an aggressive move to turn so early, but I think they're reaping the benefits. Back of the screen, look, Australia only just on the foils. And we listen in on New Zealand here. They're just trying to find the mark. The wind's so changeable, it's hard to pick the course for them out here. They show us 100 metres ahead, but I don't believe it is that far right now.
100% fly time for those first 2 boats. That early turn after Mark 1 by Australia was incredibly costly, 64% fly time. They're going fast now.
Well, it's been a great move by the Danish. They're sailing nearly straight down the ladder line. Wind has shifted in their favour. They've sailed less distance, and they've done it quickly. They're going slower, but they're being more clever, and they look like they should lead at gate number 2. They're going to be turning. Good wind coming off the Plymouth shoreline there. Look at that dark patch of water on the top of our screen. There's all to play for here, but a good move by the Danish so far.
So at gate 2 in the final, it is Denmark that leads the way. New Zealand in second, Australia in third.
Oh, but the Danish are off the foils, Todd. It's light at the bottom of the course. It's so light. They need to get that boat foiling, but the New Zealand crew off the foils as well. It's going to be a race to find the next gust of wind.
And what are the chances that Tom Slingsby, winner of the first 2 events, the 2-time defending and reigning champion, somehow finds the win and finds the lead?
Well, he's got a good chance of that right now because he's going off to the other side of the course from the other 2 boats. He's looking for any bit of breeze he can, and in order to get ahead, he can't follow behind.
It's an interesting one. He's rolled the dice, I feel, a little bit here. Looked like good wind coming from the side of the course, the other side there. From Drake's Island, we can see that more wind up there. But all the boats are stopped. First one to get going, okay? Speeds, Denmark 20 kilometres an hour, Australia 30 kilometres an hour, and wallowing in the water, it's Burling and New Zealand. Popping up on the foils, here we go. The wind is so patchy, opportunity aplenty out there, but right now, well, he's on the foils, but he's not progressing up the course. He's sailing parallel to those lines. That's no good for the Australians at the moment. And in the background, Rockwell and Denmark, they're foiling, but they're sailing up the ladder lines.
We could just see there in that graphic that the Danish have more breeze on that right-hand side of the course, hence why they're up and foiling at almost 50 kilometers an hour.
And what would this mean to Denmark to get the win here? Remember, the next event coming up on August 19th and 20th is in Copenhagen. And what a way to stroll back into town after winning an event like this, the Great Britain Sail Grand Prix.
What do we think at the top? I think we're going to go back to the item line.
Sehested, what do we think at the top?
Just looking out for a second.
That's the million-dollar question,
Yeah.
Nikolai. What do we think at the top? Finding that wind, he's in great wind at the moment. At the moment, it's a case of keeping it simple. Talking about good wind to the top mark at the moment, and they are off down the road at the moment. They're going so fast. There's going to be several more turns to do, though. Good wind in front of them. The water looks quite dark. Suggests there's good wind for them to sail to at the moment.
Let's go. Stay by. I'll lay the board here. And board.
Trying to keep it up on the foils here through this maneuver. We don't want to see them drop below 30 kilometers an hour.
Coming up. Stay wide to foil. I don't want him pressing.
Oh, he's not.
All right.
It looks like we have pressure to the top mark at the moment, little lighter ahead.
It's lighter ahead, he's right about that. It's lighter on them at the moment. Look at the background there, New Zealand sailing straight up the racetrack. This is all action at the minute. Absolute 100% speed on target there for the New Zealand boat. They're pointing directly at the gate. Denmark will have to turn one more time. I think it'll be New Zealand leading at the top here as they have the right of way. Denmark's got to keep clear. Burling hunts him. Expect a protest.
Sehested makes the turn right in front of the Kiwis, and look at this, close quarter racing at gate 3.
Oh, I think Burling was easy on it. Oh, he's forced him off the foils. He was 20 kilometres an hour faster, and what a move by Burling. Match race, America's Cup winner 2 times, and that was an aggressive match racing manoeuvre to slow the Danish down. Kiwis turn the boat immediately. They like what they see back where they came from. It's an aggressive move, but He's not even thinking about the other boats. This is the last leg, so potentially the last big decision. Here you go, on board the bow of the Danish boat, threading the needle there. The New Zealand crew, it's really tight in these gusty conditions, and we can see a big early turn by New Zealand. What are they going to do?
So they'll head down the course, then they'll make the left-hand turn, and then that long straightaway down to the hoe in front of the fans, and it is all New Zealand right now in control. There you see Denmark sitting in second place, but they are off foils and now traveling just 14 kilometers an hour.
Wow, I mean, look at that, 53 kilometers an hour straight down the course. In terms of minimizing the distance you can sail, Peter Burling, Blair Tuke, Joe Allais, they've absolutely nailed this.
That has been the key out there in this race today, is shortest distance sailed. When it comes to the percentage fly time, the Australians have actually spent most time on the foils, but not necessarily in the right direction.
Well, you look at the report card on New Zealand all weekend, their worst race came in race 4 where they finished in 5th place. Other than that, they've got a second, a first, and now they're on their way for another first place performance here. If they can get this done, what a job by Pete Burling and company turning this thing around.
It's Todd, I can assure you of one thing. This final leg across here towards the hoe is going to be an absolute roller coaster. They can see the gusty wind, we can see the Plymouth shoreline, the fans all there up on Plymouth Hoe, looking forward to welcoming them home, but the wind could easily shut off across here. There you go, Blair Tuke. Definitely have to keep at the foils. Look, they can't point at that finish line right now. Top of screen, 2 black markers is the finish. And this is the voice of Blair Tuke, sorry. He's saying we can't point there. Keep the speed on, Pete. Keep us fast.
Feeling breeze and 2. How far away is it? 90 metres.
Really nervous times on board New Zealand here.
Well, they have a massive lead right now over Australia and Denmark, so it looks like Australia's 2-win streak here in season 3 will come to an end as New Zealand is just moments away from claiming their first SailGP victory as Peter Burling and company bring it down. The wind picking up just a little bit, and here is that turn that you talked about.
Todd, we have a saying in the UK that says it's not all over until the fat lady sings. The final whistle is the final whistle, and this is a long way off here. We can see Joe Allais at the back of the boat there. Look, the strategist, she's desperately keeping her eyes on the opposition. You don't see a manoeuvre on the final leg normally. This is not a normal race. There's plenty to go.
Yeah, it's still going to be really hard work to get to the finish. There's going to be more to come in this race.
Trim me out.
So there you go. He knows that it is not over as well. And look at the lead coming down. Australia now closing the gap, now down to 180 meters. But they're going to have the same situation that the Kiwis are dealing with right now.
They all will, but it's just opportunity, Todd. You've got to try and keep yourself in wind, keep yourself in the foils. Look at the speed of the Australians, 45 kilometres an hour. New Zealand at just 33 kilometres an hour. It's a big distance, but with those speed differences, things can change really, really quickly. Burling there, straight at it from here. That's what the crew wanted to hear.
Look at the speed starting to build. Now they're up and over 50 kilometers an hour. Denmark has moved into second place. Australia sits in third.
Pretty calm on
And
board.
Pete Burling and company, they danced with the devil on the last leg, but welcome to the show, New Zealand SailGP. The Kiwis take the win in Plymouth. It was touch and go on the final leg, and it looked like the hounds were closing in on with Denmark and Australia, and it is Peter Burling, New Zealand, to get the win here in Plymouth. It'll be Australia taking a second, so they will maintain their hold on the overall, but what a showing after the broken rudder. They get back, they get into the final after that close crossing with Ben Ainsley in Great Britain, and what a performance by Tom Slingsby. I know he's not going to be happy about finishing second, and to your point, Stevie, he might want to get out of town real quick.
Well, I think he'll be pretty happy. That's a 5-event winning streak ended for the Australians, but if you end it and come second after the event they've had, but also let's save a thought for the Danish crew and Nikolaj Sejersted, because what a performance.
Yep.
Getting to the final, they were leading halfway through the race. They really have done themselves proud, and I'm sure that, again, they'll be looking to work on things, but they should be really, really happy. That's a big, big improvement for Denmark.
Huge step in the right direction. As we mentioned earlier, the next event taking place August 19th and 20th in Copenhagen, Denmark, finishing in the final, Emily. That is a big boost for them in that program.
It is a huge accomplishment, and it's going to lead the way for next month. Exciting things to come.
Happy days for the Kiwis as New Zealand SailGP claim their first title here. They take home the Great Britain Sail Grand Prix in Plymouth.